Good afternoon. Welcome to Monday Mug Mentions, week 9. We are 9 weeks in to this segment where I chat about things in the tabletop industry that interest me over the course of a cup of coffee. Bam. Now that we got it on week 8, we are just flying through that intro with no problems whatsoever. I love it. We'll have it down pat from now on. I'm sure we'll make a mistake next week now that we mentioned it. It's like talking to your catcher in the middle of a no-hitter, right? How is everyone this afternoon? Good to see you. Hello, John, Andrew, Brian, 80, Clinton, Gwen, David, Corey, Gerald. Good to see you all. Good afternoon. I am so glad you're all here. It is good to see you. I'm having a great day. You might notice I have a new coffee mug. It is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coffee cup, and there's 2 sides to it, and I'll show you the other side in a second here. All right, so first things first, let's get up our awesome coffee tributors and our coffee this week. This week, I got to visit a couple of my friends last week, as a matter of fact, in New Haven, and they dropped some coffee on me, and that is Matt Fantastic and Alex Cutler from Prettiest Princess Games. It's normally 2:30. We're doing 1 o'clock today because we've got some doctor's appointments for our baby that's coming in less than 2 weeks, like 10 days the baby will be here. So we have got to make sure that we get to those, and so I've got to go a little earlier today. I think there will be a couple more of those maybe, but probably in between 1 and 2:30 usually is where I've got to do it. So, yeah, I'll be back to the 2:30 slot starting in June for sure, like full time. So, probably most of May too once the baby's here, although I may have the baby in my arms some days when we do a few of those. So, all right, so let's get right into it. I'm drinking Willoughby's Coffee and Tea Espresso Milano. I won't lie, I've had a couple cups of this since my friends gave it to me, and it's delicious. It is really, really good. Thank you for the congratulations. That was not a shout out for that, but thank you very much. I'm very excited. We can't wait. It is our second, and we cannot wait. Matt Fantastic and Alex Cutler are game designers from Prettiest Princess Games. Matt also owns Elm City Games in New Haven. It is very awesome. Hello, Gil Mello. I also wanted to mention, I forgot to mention last week that Gil runs a segment on Board Game Breakfast. So if you guys watch the Dice Tower Network, you should definitely check out Gil's segment on Board Game Breakfast. It is really, really cool. He usually, drops in and Tom introduces them all, and then they sort of talk about the games for the week. And I thought that was really cool. And I forgot to mention that, and I greatly, please forgive me. Please forgive me, Gil. So, all right, this coffee is delicious. I am on somewhat of a time crunch, so we're going to move right past it. But, oh, my goodness, it really is good. If you guys have the opportunity, this place is in Connecticut, right outside New Haven, I believe in Branford. Really, really good coffee. They roast some amazing stuff. I really, really appreciate it. And also, Gil does crowd surfing. That's right, absolutely. Also, Gil does something about beer as well. You can mention your beer. He's got like a beer podcast, I believe, and I like beer, so I'm happy to let you promote that one as well there, Gil. Baby will join the chat sometimes too, Jennifer. Yes, very much so. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for the congrats. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get right into it. The mechanisms this week that I want to talk about. It's Craft Beer Nation. That's what Gil runs, and you should definitely check out Craft Beer Nation and see what Gil's got going on there. So, the game I want to talk about this week is actually called Formula D. It's a pretty popular game, and I want to talk about, the aspect of Formula D that includes racing and racing games in general. We can talk about Formula D. We can talk about restoration games, Downforce. We can talk about quite a few different kinds of racing games. And the fact that, honestly, in my opinion, I don't feel like I'm racing in almost any of them that I'm playing, versus like the video game racing, where you feel like you're really up against the gun and the dexterity is there and you've got to do things quickly or else you're going to crash and run into things. And I may just not have experienced those games yet. I enjoy Formula D, but it is sort of a roll and move with a certain kind of strategy built into what dice you're using. The die face is going to change based on what gear you're in. I find that to be very fun. We get to play it with my 4-year-old with sort of a truncated rule set where we're just rolling to like go around the board. And even that's fun with a family, but it's not my favorite mechanic. In a racing game, on like a video game per se, I tend to feel like, I could crash at any moment. I've got opponents that are really right there up against me, whereas in a tabletop game, I've been having trouble finding that experience to some extent. So I enjoy Asmodee's Formula D. I've been playing it with my kiddo every now and then, and I think it's a fun game based on racing around a track. A fun moment the other night when we were taking the box out before the board came out. My 4-year-old said the dark side, meaning he wanted the nighttime side, which was really cool. He remembered that it had a daytime and a nighttime side. So Zach says Turbo Drift from Button Shy is a great micro racing game. I need to check that out very soon, Zach. That sounds like something I might be interested in too. That's kind of what I'm getting to and where I'm going with the other game that I'm going to bring up, which is Descenders. And this is a video game by No More Robots. It's very early. I think it's still early access or recently came out. Yeah, Descenders is a game where you're riding a mountain bike down a hill. That's essentially the whole premise of the game. You're riding a mountain bike down a hill. It is incredibly difficult. It ramps up in difficulty very, very much so. And Zach says this should check a few boxes. Well, I will race to the finish line to get a hold of that, Zach, and then I will make sure that I can play it. And then I will shift gears and give you some feedback. What do you think about that one, Zach? What do you think about that? So Descenders, you ride the mountain bike down a hill. That's the whole point, right? There's some jumps sometimes. There's real hard curves sometimes. And this is a video game, again. And it puts you up against this very difficult sort of... I don't even know how to explain the difficulty curve. It's almost like it starts out on this nice little beautiful little, we're just riding down a hill, and then it goes, it's just this straight up very difficult. I haven't gotten to the third or the fourth stage yet, and I fancy myself a pretty good video game player. So a guy named Mike Rose runs No More Robots, and I happen to know Mike from PAXs and other shows and things like that. We got to talking about what a tabletop version of Descenders would look like. What would we do if we wanted to make a game where you felt like you were also just up against the gun, you had to do things relatively quickly, think fast, and how all of that would work. And I started thinking about a deck builder, but a deck builder with an aspect of a timer and dexterity sort of built in to where you've got to make your decisions quickly. You're also navigating a track potentially, sort of, maybe a deck builder that's moving you around the track, and you've got to go quickly. Maybe you're on a timer. Maybe the timer is something that helps you to gauge how well you did versus another opponent. And maybe it's a timer that everyone sort of uses. And if the whole thing runs out, the whole race is over. I really haven't figured all of that out, but we started talking about it. And the idea of a deck builder got their developers very excited. So we've started, chatting about what that might look like. And what we're going to do is start working on some prototypes. And so what I wanted to do today was just sort of ask you guys what games you've felt maybe put you up against the gun and made you feel like you're racing, even if it's not a racing game, games that made you feel like you had to race to do the things to be able to complete the game. Gil says, my favorite is Automobile. It's a bag drafting race game, really good. I'd like to try that. That sounds very, very fun. I like drafting. I like bag drafting. You'll notice that from Record. There's, you draft the picks out of a bag. And I like things like Automobile. I played Kanban recently. There's a lot going on there. There's part of me that wants to play it again, and there's part of me that just kind of, all right, that was a lot. And I love big Euros, and I love big, clunky, sort of fiddly things. It's Feudum recently I've been playing a lot. But I played Kanban, which is, about manufacturing vehicles, and that's totally different. So you could do a lot of things with cars, I've noticed, but a lot of times the racing aspect doesn't seem to feel like it comes out. If you've played anything that makes you feel like, we're going fast, we're doing this thing over and over again, we're all doing it quickly, and it's over in about 2 minutes. That's essentially, I want this experience, at least a round per se, to last about 2 minutes, just like you'd have in a race. If you're racing down a hill, you're not going to be doing that for 10 or 20 minutes on a mountain bike in the situation that Descenders is displaying. You're going to do about a 2-minute run, and that's a long one, sometimes 35 seconds, and you may not survive that because of all the difficulties they put in your way. And so I think to lend that to board games is fun, and the fact that you can do it in 2 minutes lends to being like a really fun sort of airport type game where you can go, okay, let's play 2 rounds before we get on the plane. Let's play a couple rounds on the plane. All right, let's put it away and bring something else out. I like that kind of idea. Mixed with the video game IP, because I think the video gamer wants, if they're going to pick that game up, they're going to want to emulate that experience that they just sort of started assuming you were crafting based on the IP that you've offered to them. So Corey says perfection. You mean this face this morning? You're absolutely right. I agree. Oh, is that a game? I'm guessing that must be a game. I would like to check that one out as well. Perfection. Zach says, what if the deck building aspect allows opponents to draw more cards the longer your turn takes? This would put the player against the clock while revving up other racers. That's an interesting point, and I might steal that. If I copy that and put it into my notes later, I'll put a Zach Conley next to it. That's a very, very good idea. One of the things I was thinking is having a racing deck and then a sort of, the player deck where, so there's a sort of track deck and then a player deck. And I've always liked this idea of two things coming out at once, but I really like that idea of the slower or the more things you do, the more cards your opponents get. So you want to really efficiently maximize your turns. That's a really, really neat idea. I was also thinking about an actual clock, right? So, you finished your turn in 1.41 seconds, and that was that track that you were able to finish. Whereas, I finished in 1.349, but I wrecked twice. There's some sort of points variation there, and you win because you didn't crash any times and had the best time. Let's see. Ski Free, the tabletop version. That sounds fun. Steve, hello. Good to see you. Jason, Andrew, Jerome, Mom, good to see you. Hello. So let's see here. That classic game. First game I think of regarding time tension. That's. I think time tension is a good idea for what I'm going with, but also fast movements and quick thinking, and a possibility of just the whole thing falling apart. Right, like a big part of Descenders is that you just wreck and then you go back to the top and you try again. So I think that's important. Is that this whole thing can fall apart a few times. Now, how you make how you get to the point where you make yourself better and you make that game a skill-based game versus a luck-based game is sort of the tricky part, right? We want to make sure that you're not just going, oh well, I just got the wreck card, so I wrecked. You want something along the lines of I've got skills to negate these nasty situations on the track. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking about with racing. I want it to be fast. I want it to maybe be timed. Again, a whole round to be over at about 2 minutes or less per player. Just a really fast-fire type of racing game where you really, really feel like you're playing a video game-style racing game versus rolling dice and moving around a board or perhaps just flipping cards to see who gets to a place first. I mean, I'd want you to have to make quick decisions, and they could be wrong. If you take a sharp turn quickly and you don't have a way to stabilize afterwards, you're going to run into a tree. And that's the end of your turn, and the next person starts their race immediately, just starts going, and just starts throwing cards down. I think that could be a lot of fun, but again, the proof is in the pudding. You've got to be able to do something of that age. My mom says hi. Hi, Mom. Good to see you. How about broadcast on games with children by age or mixed ages? I keep playing kids games. I guess I can probably definitely do that, Mom. I'll think about some kids games for next week. That's a really good idea. I like that. I did skip mail call this week so far. Let's see how we're doing on time. We're good on time. We're pretty good on time. That's fantastic. I'm talking fast. It must be this delicious Willoughby's coffee. Tripoli, which I like, but sometimes we don't have time to finish. Oh, interesting. So we need a sped up version of Tripoli. Is it Tripoli or Tripoli? I may be saying it wrong. I don't know the game, Mom. I'm not aware of it. So I will do a quick mail call. Let me clear the screen here, and then we'll go into the media that I'm interested in. Mail call. I got an RPG system sort of thing that uses Hot Wheels called Gaslands. This is just a book. That's the whole book right there. There's some stuff that comes with it if I get into it and I really like it. But I'm going to see if my son and I might eventually like this game. This is a very, very cool little RPG system. You take Hot Wheels and you put weapons on them and modify them and make them look sort of post-apocalyptic. And then you play a tabletop game, from what I can tell, similar to X-Wing. So it's a very, very interesting sort of juxtaposition of toys and things like that. You've got different kinds of cars there. You can see with weapons on them and such. So that's Gaslands. I'm interested in that. That just got to me this morning, as a matter of fact. That was waiting in the mailbox. This wasn't a mail call per se this week, but I was out with my son at the bookstore. We were picking up some new books. We got actually one old book that we had lost. It's Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends. which is one of my favorite books, and I was really happy to get it for my son, but also for me, to be honest. I picked up Daryl Andrews' Shopping Time, and this is an app-assisted driven game where you're actually, scanning cards into sort of like a cash register system, like boop, 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 real fast. And I'm very interested in checking this out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'd like to play that one, maybe tonight if I get to go to game night. I've got so much work to do, so I didn't make it last week, unfortunately. And then some of you may be jealous about this, but my copy of Azul has arrived. Yes. See? I'm so happy about having Azul. You'll notice that over here this says Next Move Games because Plan B has sort of separated their strategy game line and their sort of sillier stuff, if I understand correctly, into two companies. So now Next Move that's the Azul copy that has the nice chunky first player token in it. So I'm very happy to have gotten that one as well. Azul is a great little tile laying game, and I can't wait to get that one to the table again. I've only played it once, actually. I just recently learned it from my friend Jamie, and it was awesome. So let's see. Let's get into media this week. Some of you may be aware of this. Some of you may not. But James Hudson this week put out a little call to boost signal for an industry friend of ours, and I decided that I would jump right on board. Also, I just think this person is starting to put out some cool content of their own, and I'd like to shed a little light. So, Brittany Bowe, Bebo Games. Bebo, you may know her as. But Brittany has been putting out her own videos now on her channel, Be Bold Games. You can find it on YouTube, on Facebook. She has an Instagram. She also has her website. So check it out. I recently watched her video of Azul to learn how to play, as a matter of fact, right before I played my first time. And then she's done some Kickstarter previews and stuff like that recently for Sweet Mess, and I think James's Sorcerer City. And I would definitely suggest that you go check out her site, follow it, like it, do all the things that you guys do for being awesome. Brittany is just sort of starting out her own thing, and it's always fun when you get an influx of people when you first start to really sort of inspire you to keep doing what you're doing. So that's what I'd like to do, is sort of shed a little light there. Personally, her videos are fun. She usually gets really into the theme. I like that she has, like I believe for Sweet Mess, they actually had cupcakes there that you're going to eat and stuff. That's really, really cute. I like that. I think that's super when you I guess the case would be like really, really buy into the product and sort of show it off in a fun and engaging way. And Brittany does that, and that's really cool. She also, like many of my friends, is super awesome and vigilant on the side of making sure everyone's included and feels good about playing games together, and I'm really, really big on that as well. So, hello, Steve-O. Good to see you. Hello, Ian. Let's see here. Clinton said, Gaslands looks very fun. I've been seeing a ton of pics in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, me too. I'm not sure what happened with Gaslands being like blowing up on my feeds, but as soon as I saw those, I said, we have a lot of Hot Wheels, and I could see myself painting those at some time when I have free time, which is never. I get all these things that are still in shrink wrap. You'll notice the table behind me has stuff on it because I redid computer parts and stuff this weekend. It's been, there's no rest, right? Of course not. But anyway, everyone go over and check out Brittany Bowe's site, her YouTube. Follow it, like it, do all that good stuff. I believe James's famous saying is, a rising tide raises all ships, and a rising waters raise all ships. Whatever the case may be, let's all raise up. Let's help each other out. Let's be friendly. I think that's a really, really cool thing of James to do, so I'm just following suit. This is not an original idea. Again, like most things, I just follow my peers that are doing these things better than me and try to sort of emulate their cool stuff. So, Michael, good to see you. Hello, welcome. Michael Epstein, who is shipping pigment in the very near future, if I recall. I think he may be looking at boxes of pigment on his doorstep today, if they got there, I hope. So again, one more time, Be Bold Games. Go check it out for Brittany Bowe and Bebo. It is a very, very cool site. She's always got some good helpers. I think her little ones help her out with that too, and I can't wait till mine are old enough to help out as well. That's super. Now we will talk about marketing, and this is I don't know about strange one. This is a pretty It's a strange one to talk about, I guess. It's a very, very pedestrian sort of marketing thing. But it's Cardi's Furniture, and it's a handwritten note. So let's see. Michael said, I'm already actually packing them. So Copper Frogs Games LLC is happy to be shipping out the bulk of the games today and tomorrow. Since I only live about an hour away from Michael, I'm guessing my copy will probably be here tomorrow or the next day. Then I look forward to taking Pigment out and checking out the game with some friends. Thanks, Michael. So let's see here. Cardi's Furniture. So this is a fun one. We've had the same old recliners for many years. Courtney is 9 months pregnant, and she's going to be spending some time on the couch with the baby, of course, as well. Feeding and hanging out and just bonding and stuff like that. So as will I. So I needed to buy a couch. So I purchased a couch, and I called a place rather than went to a place because I'm so busy that I didn't want to go walk around. I found what I wanted online, and I had it sent here. And it took a few weeks, but when I called and talked to the salesperson, a gentleman named Don, Don helped me through all the things I needed for the most part, got the order number, like what you do as a salesperson to, of course, do your job or make some money, of course. But then a couple days later, in my mailbox arrived, first of all, I noticed that it was a sort of hand-drawn, Mr. John Britt, and in my address. Now you all know where I live, at least where my office is. So let's see here. So then I opened it, and it says, thank you, and I was thinking, well, okay, thank you for what? And it says, I'll just show you here. This is, again, handwritten in cursive, which cursive is also not a super common thing that you'll see anymore, but it says, Dear John, my first name is John, by the way, so you'll notice that as well. I go by Marshall, but my dad's name was John, so that's my first name as well, John. So it says, Dear John, thank you for your recent purchase. I'm sure that you will enjoy your new sofa when it arrives. We'll give you a call. Regards, Don Horwath. That was an amazing, amazing gesture that probably only cost them $1 or $2, maybe less if they have some, this on a regular basis. 47 cents for the actual mailing, and then maybe $1 for the card and stuff. So so now I have this like really beneficial, nice thought in my head when I order furniture that, hey, well, if I order from Cardi's, they send that handwritten note. It's really nice. They've created goodwill. Now, the wrong couch arrived, so it is important that when you do something like this that you do follow through and send the right couch. So the wrong couch is sitting in my living room waiting for the new couch to arrive to swap for the couch that we ordered. So there was but again, that's things happen, and you just sort of go, okay, well, again, it helped that they had sent this and had been very friendly, and they have good customer service. It's something neat, and it's something that I think, there's a connection there when I called Don about the problem with the couch, where it was like, well, I'm not going to yell at Don. Don sent me a nice handwritten message. I'm going to tell Don, hey, this is the wrong couch, man. What's going on? And we got it worked out in a civil manner rather than me being upset at this corporate entity or something like that. So again, just a little handwritten note is nice. And I want to mention, when you purchase something from Top Shelf Gamer, I believe it is, usually I get a handwritten note from them. And when I purchased my copy of Yeah Diamonds by Dave Beaver from Game and a Curry, which is Banana Chan, I got a handwritten note from Barbara that said, thank you for your purchase. And I will say that those make a big difference. And we may start doing that. It's been a very interesting thing for me to see. We may start doing that. A handwritten note is not that much time, and it's something neat. And I'm going to speak to some comments here now on the side there. Steve O'Torres says, handwritten letters. I'm telling you, man, they have magic powers. Oh, that's actually kind of funny because Steve-O and I had a very, very long conversation about handwritten letters while chatting at Unpub 8. We stayed together, as a matter of fact, and we had a fun night chatting about handwritten letters. That's right, Steve-O. I remember that now. Michael says, whoops. I don't know what the whoops is. Did I sneeze on myself? Oh, they're saying whoops because the wrong couch. I understand now. So it says it shows there's someone on the other. Michael Epstein says it shows there's someone on the other end. This is something that's important in the age of Twitter rage. So many people treat anonymity on the internet as something separate from their real world persona. It really is someone on the other end. I agree with that. I think that I knew immediately there was a person there that I could talk to, and that I was going to be able to call Don. to sort that out, as opposed to call 1-800 number and deal with X for a long period of time. So it was very, very nice. I did like that, and I think the anonymity usually would maybe even I tend to lose my temper when something like that tends to happen. I can go, I don't have time for this, I'm very busy, and you can start to think very, very internally, and I try to go, okay, it happened recently. At PAX East there was a food order issue, and I was just not very accommodating to the other. We were trying to order food for 40 people from one restaurant, and it was not going well, and I was not being very patient, I don't think, with someone. And I need to think more and more about the person who's going through the situation in those times. And in this time, because I had this personal connection, I think I was more willing to be very, very kind and polite, rather than maybe standoffish or start to get sort of hostile and say, well, you guys need to fix this quickly or something, and that's kind of what you tend to do, I think, when you've got a customer service person that's not engaging with you as a human. They're just sort of giving you the robotic answers or the scripted answers. Those can start to become very frustrating. So something like this, again, a nice handwritten thank you note can make a big difference in how you engage throughout the process and then following up. Now that they're sending the correct one, and we'll take this back, and there's no charge, I'm not going to I'm not going to say I'd never order there again. I'm not going to say maybe the first place, because of course they didn't get the order right, but it's in the running, right? They fixed the problem. Once they do, they will have fixed the problem. So you've got to do your best to give people the benefit of the doubt. I think that, again, if somebody goes far enough way to do something like this, then they probably genuinely made a mistake and they care about stuff. As opposed to someone who just threw something in a box and sent it across the country and sort of sends you a blanket email saying we'll replace the order, or we'll, whatever the case may be. It's definitely a better engagement. I think it's a smart way to market. I'm not sure if we'll do it immediately, but it's something we'll consider, certainly. So Corey Mudderman says, handwritten rulebook signed by the designer, wave of the future. That sounds brutal, and taking us back to the Age of Enlightenment, right? When there'd be the scripted books, everything would have to be written prior to the printing press. Oh goodness, I couldn't imagine making board games at that time. My mom, hi Carol. Carol Ann is my mom, by the way. Those about 33-9 have never learned and can't read cursive. So those about I guess 33 to 9 years old, so 9 to 33 have never learned and can't read cursive. So if you don't know print, okay. So cursive. Many people can't read it. I was not aware of that, but that is an interesting point. So, all right, you guys. Well, I really appreciate it. Here, I forgot to show you my full mug. Let's show you the full mug. All right, so we've got. Let me make sure I get it on the right camera all the way. So I've got my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coffee mug with my delicious Willoughby's coffee here. Thank you again, Matt and Alex. They're probably still getting going and all that. Let's see. And then on the other side is all four turtles. You've got Michelangelo, Raphael, Donatello, and Leonardo. So Michael says, look up some of the woodblock board games from Japan. They're really cool. One of the projects we're looking at right now, actually, the art style we're looking at would be a woodblock cut, so I will go look at those. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that, Michael. Y'all have a fantastic week. This was a really, really fun episode. I had a blast. I'm really, really looking forward to doing this again next week. Let's see. Next week will bring us very close to the baby time, and then the week after that, we may be at baby time. So we may have an amended one of these from the hospital potentially if that has to happen. And there won't be any overlays because I can't do those on my phone, but we'll edit them in later or something like that if we need to. But thank you guys so much for joining me for a cup of coffee this afternoon. Have a great, great week, and we will see you next week on Monday. Bye-bye.